Hi, I'm Harry Rock, and welcome to another edition of the Westfield Council on Aging Presents. This is a special collaborative effort between Tina Gorman, Executive Director of the Westfield Senior Center, and Pete Coles, who is the producer of WCPC Westfield Cable Channel 15. Our topic today is fraud protection, and my guest in the studio is Jason Hosey. He is a banking manager who deals with the challenges of financial wellness and how fraud impacts that. So, Jason, welcome to the show. Thrilled to have you here.
Wow, Harry, thank you for having me on the show. We got some things to unpack today, don't we?
We do, and this is I'm very interested in this topic because I think that we are all vulnerable when it comes to fraud. Unfortunately, there are people out there that have really figured out how to make it sound real, between what they send in email, between what they send in letters, how they call. There's so many ways that they can get to us, and we just have to really prepare ourselves. So we're going to get into that. So I think, to kind of get it started, can you define what fraud is and bank fraud and just how are people vulnerable?
I'll keep it simple.
Yes.
Bad people trying to steal from good people.
That's okay. That works.
If we could just simplify it and look at it in that way, that's exactly what's happening. It is people with bad intentions looking to take advantage of people who they see as vulnerable.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way, in the simplest terms, to define what we're dealing with every day.
And would you say that seniors are more vulnerable, or is really any age group equally vulnerable?
That's a wonderful question, actually. Everyone and anyone who uses a debit card in the world is vulnerable, could be at risk, depending on how you use your card, your debit card, and where, and also what personal information you put where. It's not just our elder population. It's not just it's not just the youth. It really impacts everyone. And interestingly enough, it's also impacting the very young. People trying children. Yes, that is so. It doesn't. There is no one specific group of people necessarily being targeted. Everyone may be at risk.
You keep mentioning debit cards versus credit cards or anything else. Are debit cards the prime area of interest to these bad people out there?
In a way. Because your debit card is typically tied to a lot of your money.
Okay.
And so what I see in the banking world is maybe you only have a checking account, and that debit card is tied to your checking account. And maybe you use that to buy, to shop where you shop. Mm-hmm. And so if your card is lost or if your card is stolen, it's a direct link to your funds. Mm-hmm. So it's, so we, in banking, one of my focuses is teaching people how to stack properly. My recommendation for folks.
And what does stack mean?
I love that question. It's basically as your monies come in, they can come into an account. But what I love about no matter where you're banking, you can use bank technology to move your money. You can use your bank's mobile app to move your money from the checking account that it may come into a savings account or into another checking account where it's held. And then you can transfer it out, the money's out as needed, making it a lot safer in the event that your debit card itself is compromised because it was stolen, or the 16-digit card number, the 3-digit security code, and the expiration date were put on a website somewhere in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what examples of, and I've actually gotten hit with credit card. Fortunately, our debit card's been okay, but my personal credit card has been hit a couple of times. And I think you have to be really fastidious about checking the monthly statements and looking for stuff that doesn't make sense or that you don't recognize. And that's how we picked up on it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times it's just small stuff. All of a sudden there's something coming out for $26.39 every month. Something you don't really pick up on, and you're thinking, okay, yep, that probably is something I spend. It's not a lot of money, and you forget about it, but over time it adds up. But certainly I understand debit cards. What about credit cards? Are they equally as vulnerable, or?
So any card that you might use could be compromised. Let's just be real.
Right.
However, your debit card is tied to your cash and your credit card is tied to a loan, basically. So a company extends you a line of credit, which is basically a loan.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you can use it and pay it back. So if your credit card is compromised, you didn't lose your money. If your debit card is compromised, depending on how things happen, and we're going to talk about some examples of that in a little while. But depending on what's put out there, the credit card is, in my professional opinion, safer to use at first than your debit card.
Okay.
So when I'm talking with clients, I'm telling them, so let's use simple numbers. Let's say you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000. The idea is that you have a $1,000 cash backer, and that if you're going to shop online, or if you're going to swipe at the gas pump, or if you're going to buy groceries, if you're going to go out for dinner, that you would use the debit card, and hopefully that card yields you back a return for your spend, some type of point structure.
Right.
And then when the bill comes, you take the from the cash reserve and just pay it back, thereby protecting your money, your dollars, from fraud. And also, so it has a few benefits. So you're boosting your FICO scores as you're leveraging your credit to keep your money safe. So all those on-time payments that you're making with your credit card, they're reporting to the three main bureaus. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian are getting reports every month about that good pay history.
Okay.
So you're not only protecting your money, but you're also helping to boost your credit worthiness.
Interesting. And then with a debit card, to your point, once that money, it's basically just tied to a pool of money. They take it out. It's gone. There's really no way for them to track it down. Is that correct?
Well, for example, a client came into the bank and said that she went to a local merchant, and I'm sorry, forgive me. This client, she lost her purse was taken, her wallet was taken, and then there was some unrecognized activity at a local merchant, and for considerable amounts of money. One swipe for $1,000, another swipe for a little over $1,000, another merchant swipe for a little over $700. Debit card, right? So your bank can help file a dispute in the event that you're compromised, and that's a big part of what I do every single day with our organization. So that way, those monies may be recovered.
Okay.
Now, there are other instances, and I really want everyone to listen to this well, because in some way, shape, or form, someone around you is probably experiencing this. Is a big one. Getting calls from your bank. Someone on the phone saying, we're from your bank, and your accounts have been compromised. Go to your bank. Go to the teller line. Withdraw all the money out of your bank account, and then we'll let you know what to do next after you've contacted us to let us know that you've done that.
Oh, wow.
That's happening. In a case like that, if you withdraw money from your account and place it somewhere unsafe, there's not a lot the bank can do at that point, because you made a decision to do this thing.
Right, because you're the one that's doing it.
Correct. Even though you may be convinced to do it, it's still something that you did. Now, if someone steals your debit card or somehow accesses the number and they use it, and there are unrecognized charges that you did not authorize, now we can fight. Now we can dispute. Now we can investigate investigations are good things because they uncover bad things and holes and areas that we need to be mindful of that are where there are vulnerabilities. So what I'm seeing is that people are trusting.
Yeah, right.
I'm a good person. I have no reason to not trust others. I have no desire to take from others. But people who would seek to steal know that the people they're targeting are trusting individuals. They're good people with good intentions, trying to live a good life and enjoy and do good things. And they're using that psychology against us, our goodness against us.
You know, I think about my mom before she passed away. She was 92, but as she got into her upper 80s, 88, 89, 90, she was always very trusting. She would bring strangers into the house. Oh, come on in, have a cookie and some milk, you know, this kind of thing.
Sure.
And same thing with the bank type of thing. If somebody called her, she just trusted anything that she heard and said because that's how she's been her whole life. And I would try to work on her and say, Mom, you have to be more suspicious. You've really got to protect yourself. And I think that for people, that's the hard part, is that inherently we are trusting people. We're assuming that people are looking out for us because we're not exposed to that every day. And so what are some tips that you have on how we do become more suspicious and questioning of people's intentions when they start asking these kind of questions of us?
Wow. It's such a good question that, I mean, there's so many things. First thing, someone calls you and says that if your bank calls you and says that something's wrong, hang up the phone and call your bank.
That's a great suggestion. Okay. Make sure that
Hang
you're
the
calling
phone up
on
and
their
call
number.
your institution and make sure that, and you ask for their security department.
I love it.
And ask them, is everything okay? I just got a weird phone call from you from someone that said that they're you. I don't see anything wrong with my money. Is there anything wrong with my money? Am I safe? And likely, and hopefully, your bank will say, we didn't make that phone call. And then you'll know. That's one way.
That's a great suggestion. I love that.
Harry, you and I talked about something before we came on, and I want to make sure we understand. I want to say this clearly. You are not alone. If you're a victim of fraud, you're not alone, and you're not alone. Mm-hmm. There are other people just like you that it's happening to. Mm-hmm. And you have someone that you can call. Mm-hmm. The FTC has a number of resources that you can utilize to make sure that we follow up these occurrences. Leverage the services of your local police department. Go to the police, file a report. The when, the where, the who, the what, and the how. Tell them everything. Let them put it on paper so it marks time. Mm-hmm. Date stamp, time stamp with all the facts. Mm-hmm. Then you begin to reach out to all the places where the thing occurred, and you begin to go and address it where it happened on the ground.
Do all banks? All banks, I'm assuming, have a fraud department.
Yes,
and
really a security department
or security department.
Yes, and it's a security and investigations department that is helping to protect our clients' interests.
So our suggestion is if somebody suspects anything, if you're looking at anything on your statements that come through, and if there's something that you really don't recall, it's okay for them to call the bank and say, I want to question this. It may be right, but I need to question this.
I'm not going to speak for all banks because I don't work for them.
Okay.
But I work for a great organization, and I invite people to come in to sit with me and show me and share with me, and let's figure this thing out together.
Right.
And when I say you're not alone, there are people like myself in the community where you bank, no matter where you bank, but where you bank does matter, and that's something we believe in. But there are people who are willing to come alongside you and guide you through it. Mm-hmm. As professionals, we need to be much more empathetic. I'm a smart guy. I'm thinking, how could this happen to me? How could this, this person's thinking, I I'm really sharp. How did they get me? Where'd they get me? Right? So as a professional, I'm thinking that, wow, we need to show more grace professionally and say, wow, listen, it's not your fault. These are bad people that are targeting you. Like, you go to work every day, they go to work every day. They have a call center. They have people who are actively seeking to steal from you, and that's their job.
That's interesting. Right. Wow. Can you give some other kinds of examples that people could relate to of cases that you have seen and experienced and help people through?
Sure. You said something a little while ago. Small charges. Sometimes fraud happens in bits, unrecognizable bits. $9.99 a month. $19.99 a month, from some strange entity that you really can't name, and you might not know if you don't have access to online banking and you're not checking your statements every morning, or if you're not checking your mobile app, your bank app every day to look at your financials and what's happening in and out, what's going in and out. So what we're seeing a lot of times is sometimes it's not a lot of times, but sometimes it's subtle. It's very subtle. Like, it's a little bit here, a little bit there. Sometimes it's, I went online to go buy some sneakers, or I went online to go buy some vitamins or supplement of some sort, and I got bounced to another website, and I thought it was still the same one, and then I got this recurring subscription service that I didn't sign up for. Maybe I missed the fine print. So there's that. And then there's, well, maybe someone in my household, I handed my debit card to my child, and and they went somewhere in the game or whatever. Right. So there are a number of things, different types of scenarios, but those are a few of them. And we talked about this one. This one blew my mind, and it really broke my heart. The customer comes in because they get a phone call from their grandchildren too, from someone saying that their grandchildren are being held hostage.
Yeah, I've heard
two of them,
before, right.
And then and then they have somehow been able to recreate their voices.
Oh wow,
that's real. There's tech that can do that.
Yeah, artificial intelligence
for sure. And so the customers, I heard my grandson's voice, both, and then they have the other one, and so hang up. So they hang up. They called the local police department. The local PD called out to where the grandsons lived. Their local PD went to the house where the grandsons lived and waited for them to come home, and then recontact. And so those are some of the little things that we're seeing. I get asked the question often: How did they get me? Like, where did I put it? My stuff. It's very hard to say. It's very hard to say. But here's a way around it. I ask people, show me how you go online, because consumer fraud from online transactions is pretty big, and I believe is the majority of what I see. Here locally, it's that. Someone went on to do something that they wanted to do, that they normally do, and then somehow, some way, something happened. Software somehow, maybe they clicked on a link that they thought was good, and then it took them somewhere else. But here's another one that I'm seeing. So I like Costco. It's one of my favorite places in the world to go and like run around the store, because it's big and there's a bunch of stuff and
there's a lot
deals
of stuff,
and right. But Costco's not going to send you an email from ABCXYZ character at gmail.com saying that you won something.
Right.
That's just not going to happen.
We see those all the time.
We do. Same thing. We've heard about the Publishers Clearinghouse scams, and so those things are still around. And here's what I realized: people are excited about winning. I love winning. And when you tell me I won something, I get really? Because we don't always win things, like hit the jackpot, right? So there's this emotional aspect of it where people are like, I won, where do I sign?
Right.
And so we really want to, I want people to think as good people how bad people might handle you because you're a good person, right? Take advantage of you. I admit that I sit at the desk, and people are sometimes concerned about giving me information as I'm helping them because of how they've been hurt. But I want them to know that's why we're there. I'm not just there to help you grow your money. I'm there to help you protect it and secure it too.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the general statement of if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I have seen I bet I get one a day, these emails that come in that say, and they look so professional now. They have really gotten good at it. Because usually if you look, you can find misspellings. There's a problem with punctuation, capitalization. There's little things, how they, and especially if they're from another country and they don't have a grasp of the English language, they'll get the words mixed up a little bit.
Sure.
There's little things, if you really look closely, you can say, yep, a professional organization wouldn't be doing that.
So true.
That's bad.
Very true.
But you've really got to be careful. But they've gotten so good at them that, you've just won a new Milwaukee skill saw, and all you have to do is this. And then I look at the address that it came. It's HROC 2. It's not my address. It's HROC at ABCD. You have to be so careful and realize that really I'm the only one that won. How many thousands upon thousands of emails they probably sent out that they're giving these things away?
Sure.
I don't think so. And so you've really got to be suspicious when it comes to that kind of stuff because it's easy to get sucked in.
It is. Now, their nets are broad.
Yeah.
They're not. When you think about fraud and people trying to commit fraud, don't think about someone in the middle of a river with a pole. Think about a massive net cast to catch you in it. You and people like you, me and people like me. And that's really the magnitude of what we're dealing with behind, and we don't see it. It is a faceless, nameless enemy. And we don't know where they're based. And we don't know the color of their skin or their national origins. They're somewhere in the world and they're doing this thing. And one of the things that I talk about is don't believe that fraud is being committed by one group of people or another. Please don't get sucked into that, because you will be blinded by it and you will become more susceptible because you won't see it coming. We need to be open that it could come from anywhere and it could be in your own house. I know it's crazy, but the source of it could be in your home and you don't realize because maybe you don't know someone's doing something in your home with your personal information.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
I really want people to be thinking like that. I want people to, you said it, ask questions. Hang up the phone on the caller, call the bank, ask questions, and really try to get to the bottom of it. And then ask yourself questions. Where do I shop? How do I shop there? What information do I use to pay? How do I pay? And where is my personal information now that I can bring it back in and bring it closer to me? I want to say something about a weird thing I saw the other day walking by an apartment complex, 2-family house, and there is a bank statement lying on the porch.
Oh,
I saw a bunch of mail on a
Right.
porch, and I went and I looked up, and it was a bank statement from a bank.
Wow.
If you can go paperless, save trees. But save your identity, because people that would steal your mail can get your checks and wash them. Oh, by the way, about checks, use gel pens. It's
really?
hard to wash out.
So what does wash out mean?
So you can take a check and wash some of the ink away and then rewrite them in certain ways. So there are ways to alter checks. So if you are be mindful of mail and checking your mail. But if you do still use checks, which is still a great way to do things if it works well for you and if it's the only way that you feel comfortable, but use a gel pen to fill them out. That's just another small way just to protect yourselves. And we really need to be looking at our practices like that, just like that. And then again, using the credit card instead of the debit card. Or if you're going to use your debit card, only move over as much as you need to use for that instance and as needed.
Yeah, and I think that it's so easy. I think that people have really got to look at how that debit card is attached to I'm assuming their checking account.
Yes.
And then I've talked to my wife about this, the same thing as, so if they got our debit card, do they immediately have access to the credit card? I'm sorry, the checking account, or is there a firewall essentially set up there that blocks them from getting too far, but don't leave large balances in that debit card?
Sure. So to unpack it a little, banking software has algorithms that will detect unusual activity. So if you live locally, but we notice a charge somewhere far away, we may flag the card, which will prompt you to then call your institution and ask, why isn't my card working? Then we can say, oh, because we saw something strange, and by the way, here it is. It's only pending. It may fall off. If it falls off, even still, let's get you a replacement card. And we can do some things internally to make that card a little more secure against against some recurring things. But we want to make sure that we are just in constant communication with your bank. There are customers that don't come into the bank very often because they do a lot of their work online, but it's not a bad idea to once a quarter pop in, once a month pop into your local bank. Also, there are security protocols that are set up so that we verify our customers when they're calling in, because another thing that people who are trying to commit fraud will do is they're calling around and fishing for information. You mentioned that form letter. Those form letters are things that are drafted in the name of your bank and sent to you,
Right.
and they go out as a mailing list, perhaps, to a geographic area. If you have a mortgage, that's public record. If you have, obviously there's insurance tied to it. All those public records are being leveraged to draft these form letters that you should bring to your banker and have them review for legitimacy.
Yeah, interesting.
And then those emails too, when you get those correspondences, you should bring them to one of us, and so that we can go through them with you and tell you how to act accordingly.
You mentioned staying in touch with your bank. So for people, seniors tend to travel more. That's one of the things they do upon retirement, both domestically and then internationally. A lot of people going to Europe, and we know that travel is way up right now.
Sure.
Should people be calling their banks to let them know where they're going and the types of expenses to expect when they see these things going, to ensure that the card does work properly, and also to allow the bank to decide what is the appropriate thing to flag?
Sure, that's an excellent question. Yes, you should go to your institution and notify them that you're going to be traveling and where you're going to be stopping over for layovers. If you're in an airport, if you're going on a cruise, the ports that you might hit. Yes, let us know where you'll be going. And because we can put notes so that your account isn't flagged because you went over it to enjoy yourself in a place that you don't normally operate in.
Okay. And then if a bank, because I've run into this myself, if all of a sudden you're paying for dinner or you're buying something and the card is denied, and the difficulty is you're living the moment and you're trying to get in touch with the bank, but now you're into the automated system where, okay, is it this, dial 1, if it's that, dial 2, and you just can't get to a live person. Does the bank try to get in touch with you? Will they email you or text you, or is that dependent upon banks? Or what does the bank do when it sees something that it questions and it says, nope, I'm not going to allow that to go through, but I'm living, assuming that it's credible, I've got my card there. What is the bank doing to get in touch with me to say, hey, is this legit? We'll let it go or not? Or do banks have any kind of protocol when it comes to that?
That's a great question. So our customers do what they do every day. They live their lives every day. And we don't infringe on that. We don't want to we're not going to tell you what to do. But if we see something, really, there's no one in the sky pressing buttons necessarily. And I'm speaking more so to what we're doing. So there's nobody in the sky pressing buttons. Software says, it recognizes that's weird, flag. That's weird, flag. And then if in fact if you are compromised, or if you can't gain access, you're going to contact us. Then we know, now we can work together. So we're gonna do things to block things if we think it's not right, if it's off or it's unusual. But then in the hope that you're going to contact us then, because you're everything on your side is legitimate. You just want to try to regain access. Now we get to notify you, okay, this is the reason why, because we need you to contact us. We don't want to stop you from living your life, but we need to we need you to know that we see what's happening, and that if it's unusual, we're going to stop it. And we know that you're going to call us about your money if you can't get to it. And then we're going to be able to say, oh, by the way, and notify you that of something that likely you didn't know was happening anyway. And that happens all the time. And that's really more how that relationship works.
But the bank doesn't at that moment say, send me an email or a text message saying, questionable expense, is this legit or not? Answer yes or no.
So you may, now this is where I feel it gets a little tricky. You may receive an email from the bank saying that this has happened. That's when you call your bank directly. Don't click on the text message or any links therein.
Okay.
Reach out directly to security and fraud investigations within your organization, your institution, and let them know what you saw. They may ask you to send a screen capture of it or something to that effect. But when you see something on your mobile device, because that's where it's coming through, via email or via text,
right,
don't do anything with it. Bring it to us.
Okay. So again, be ultra suspicious.
Yes, because it could come from someone that's
Right.
just spoofing the number to your
Right.
bank.
Right.
As well. And we want to
Right.
make sure that, that's happening. And then, for example, I was talking with a friend of mine this weekend, and she knows about the work that I'm doing. She came up to me. She said, Jason, let me show you a text I got. And it was from unemployment insurance. And she's been retired for many years. She's like, so how did someone file an unemployment claim with my social?
Oh, wow.
Because we need to also be mindful that if they do get your info, so if they fish around, they get the last four of your social from here, maybe the two middle digits from here, and then somehow they get the first three. They got your social,
You're right.
and now they can do things. But we're thinking about only bank, my checking account, my savings account, and my credit card. We also need to be thinking about them going to a bank and opening a bank account with a fake ID with your name, in your name. So now we need to be able to contact an organization called check systems. So in banking, when a new account is opened, we check them through check systems to make sure there are no hits on their identity
Okay.
before we establish a new banking relationship.
Okay.
But in the event you're compromised, there's some resources that we can share these out with the audience here, that they can call, just notify about bank activity. Hey, listen, I was compromised. Here's a police report, and I want to make sure that you know that this happens in case someone tries to open a bank account in my name. So now, really, because I am solutions based, we know what the problems are, Harry. We know how people are being affected. Now let's talk about how to call each credit bureau and put freezes on your account, and then you can thaw it when you need to apply for credit. But otherwise, you can place those freezes, or by calling Equifax or contacting them online, TransUnion and Experian as well. And those are some things that you would. That's one of the measures you would take with a copy of their police report that you would submit with that packet. Then contact the FTC. The FTC has tons of resources to be able to guide you through the what to do now and then what to do next.
Interesting. What tips would you have? This is geared towards, the seniors here in the greater Westfield community. And generally, the older populations did not grow up with technology. They're not as comfortable with it. And so it gets confusing and it can be daunting. And again, they are by nature a very trusting group. What are some of the general tips that you would offer them to help ensure that they're going to be safe when it comes to the use of cards, use of cash, and just protecting themselves in general?
Number one, don't isolate your friends. Don't isolate your family and people that love you. Let them know that that you're concerned that something might be happening.
Okay.
Part of what we're dealing with is that these people that would steal, they want to try to shame you into thinking that you're foolish for falling for it. And if you tell somebody, they're going to think you're foolish for falling for it too.
Right, right.
So we really need to be transparent about what's happening in our situations. And for those who feel like maybe they don't have someone that they can call, if they have a banking relationship and if they can call their bank directly and get support that way. They can call community police and get some direction perhaps that way. You know, and I'm thinking about all those who may not have a family locally that can assist them. But those are the things I would say first and foremost, we have to talk about what's happening. Don't keep it a secret because you're ashamed that someone will think you're foolish. But also, we need to, as professionals, be, and I said it earlier, much more empathetic to the fact that people are being taken advantage of and they're unsuspecting. And that they are victims. Let's not treat them like perpetrators.
Okay.
You know, because sometimes, if you think, they took the money out and gave it to someone trying to commit fraud, but they didn't do it intentionally. So that's one way. The other way is we really need to be able to look at our bank practices, and change is extremely uncomfortable, but we need to look at how we can change to be safe. So instead of going online and gaming with your debit card, maybe you have a debit card that's just dedicated to your online gaming or your online purchasing. And then if you're going to do that, you can you can separate it. And then if you're going to shop locally and do things, you can separate that. You know, and maybe look at, even if you're compromised, you can that's one way that you can kind of break it out. Recreational expenditure, and then the necessities. The housing and the transportation and so on. And think about using your credit cards, because the people who are taking advantage of have the financial standing that makes them the target. So to try to find a way to not put your money out where it doesn't belong, and the information tied to it. So
use credit cards first.
Yes.
Over debit.
Yes. I would strongly encourage.
That's a great tip. Are there any other examples that have stood out for you that were really interesting to you or surprising to you that people were able to be taken advantage of?
I'm not surprised as I used to be about things that happen.
Okay.
Because we're seeing these things, these recurring things, just different faces tied to the issues. So there's not really. I mean, I may say that there are new methods and methods to go about it. I think if anything's becoming new, the methods that they use to contact people are getting better. Being able to duplicate someone's voice, something that we've never had to deal with. 25 years ago, we weren't dealing with that. 20 years ago, we weren't dealing with that. You know, that's another thing. And people believing that, you know, no one's going to notice. So I want to go there because I want to make sure that we're going to annualcreditreport.com and we're pulling our credit reports. And we can do that 6 times a year.
Okay.
Through 2026.
Okay.
I just pulled some resources from the FTC. That's one of the things that I pulled out. And I want to make sure people know that. Go to annualcreditreport.com, pull your reports, and make sure that everything looks good. Now, me, I love tech, so I like a few different softwares, but I like Credit Karma because it gives me visibility to the 2 main bureaus where information is reported about me, Equifax and TransUnion. So I want to know what those 2 scores are saying. I want to know, and by having Credit Karma, I saw that someone had committed fraud, and I was able to take action. So we want to bank online. We want to use online banking, but we want to use our bank's mobile app and not go through like a Safari or Chrome. We want to have full visibility, access, and control through the mobile application.
So I think this is a really important distinction.
Sure.
Yeah, don't just look it up on your browser.
Correct.
But
Correct.
find all banks, all organizations, quite frankly, if they're doing banking, have their own app or method by which you can gain access to do whatever your business is.
Sure.
So that's a key thing. Find the actual app. Don't
Yes.
go through the browser.
Absolutely. And wherever you shop at Best Buy, you shop at Walmart, go through their app. It's more secure and it's designed to be that way. And I'm also not a proponent of saving my financial information on a website to be used later. I got the card. I can put it in the next time I need it.
That's a great point as well, because they do ask you if you want to leave your. And so a lot of people are using Amazon all the time, constant Amazon.
Sure.
And you see these trucks going to the same house.
Oh, of course.
So they probably, well, yeah, I'm shopping every day and I'm getting my food, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And so it's easy to say, yeah, just leave my credit card information online. But to your point, don't do it.
Yeah, and what I love about Amazon is you can pick an Amazon day. So I walk by some houses and there's packages piled up on the porch. And I'm thinking, are they home or do they ever go home?
Yeah, right.
So you're a target immediately, because if there's a stack of packages, maybe there's a pile of mail, a bundle of mail.
Right.
Maybe that bundle of mail has personal information about you, like a credits, like a bank statement.
Right.
Now we got something, right? So those are the things we need to really look at how we're doing. Go paperless, turn off the paper where possible, pick an Amazon day, have all your deliveries brought to you on Amazon day when you know you're going to be home, so they're not sitting on a porch. And you're telling the world your business. I would also be extremely mindful not to put your travel plans on Facebook or any social media outlet where people are going to know, oh, they're gone for a period of time and they're watching that thing, because home invasions are real and they're happening, and not everything hits the media.
You know, my wife and I just recently went on a cruise and we were gone for a couple of weeks. And people who know me know I'm very active on Facebook. I didn't post a single thing. I did not post a single, to your exact point. Whereas in the past I used to, here we are in the airport, here we are getting on the ship, here we are in Venice or wherever it is that we're going. I didn't post a single thing. As far as people knew, I was still sitting at my home here in Westfield.
Right.
To that point. Now I'll put a post out that I'm home saying, hey, look at the trip we did, and this is what we did and places we went. Afterwards,
right.
As a summary. But I have changed my mode of operations as well for that same point. You're inviting people to know that your house is wide open. And with Facebook and other social media sites, it's wide open. People can look and get your information very easily.
It's true. And you know what? I want to talk about this really, really briefly, because loss is real. We lose loved ones. And then we write an article naming the people in their family.
Yeah, this is a great example.
Naming the people they left behind. And believe me, there are people watching that very thing alone, just to see who, because it's public, it's all public. Someone is deceased and they leave behind a spouse, and now phone calls. And we really want to make sure, and I think that we should look at what we're putting in obituaries a little more carefully. Because we're telling everything through them, and we're not meaning to. We just want to memorialize our loved ones,
right.
And remember those that are left behind. Here without the ones that we love, but we need to be a little. I think we can. That's an opportunity for us to be a lot more mindful of what we're advertising.
And to that point, I think that this is again where we're so vulnerable, because during a time of loss, you're assuming that everybody's thinking of you with sorrow and love and empathy. They're not looking to take advantage of you. And unfortunately, there are those bad guys out there that you've referenced so well that are looking to take advantage of you. And, here's a great opportunity to swoop in on somebody who's really grieving and not thinking straight, or assuming that somebody's looking out for their best welfare. And you've got to be so careful with that.
Now more than ever.
Right. Well, anything else that we should be talking about as we start wrapping up here? We've covered a lot of ground here, and an awful lot of great tips and suggestions. Anything else out there that stands out for you?
as I look at the resources that we've talked about today and I think about my work every day, people need to know they're not alone. And that Jason Hosey will help them.
Okay.
And put a name to the person that you can call for help.
Mm-hmm.
Go in and see them.
Mm-hmm.
Call and make an appointment. Mm-hmm. Because I want to make sure that people identify their supports, their team.
Yeah.
Who's my team in the event that something happens? Who do I call that's going to hear my situation, that's going to understand, that's going to care, that's going to show me empathy and compassion and not treat me like I'm a fool because I'm a victim. And identify who those people are around you. And if you don't have anyone who's a family member or someone to represent you, again, there are resources in the world that where you live and where you operate that will help you. And I most certainly am one of those resources.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Jason Hosey, I want to thank you so much for coming in. This has been a fascinating topic, an unfortunate topic, but it's been fascinating to talk about it. And, it's been great to be able to really glean from your experience when it comes to, and I like the word, ensuring people's financial wellness, but being mindful of the fact that there are people out there that would look to take advantage of that financial wellness and that they're taking advantage of anything they can to get to you. So what I would say to all of our viewers is be vigilant, be suspicious, and protect your own resources, your cards, your numbers, shopping habits. Just assume that there are people out there looking to take advantage of you as much as you can. If you get a call from a bank or an organization saying, hey, we've got a problem and we need to get into your bank accounts, say, I'm sorry, I'm hanging up, I'll give you a call back. And then call the organization directly with the phone number that you trust and you know to see if it's legit. They'll let you know right then that, oh, no, we did not call you, or yes, we did, there is a concern. Okay, great. You've verified that. Make sure that, and I love this one, use gel pens for your checks. We still send checks in our household, and gel pens the ink does not wash out, so they can't tamper with that. Use credit cards over debit cards. I think that's so key because with a credit card, you do have, and I've been through this myself, where if there's something in question, the credit card will do their research, they'll do the investigation, and they'll protect you, and they'll give you that money back. With a debit card, there's a good chance you may lose it altogether because it's basically just an open vehicle to get to your bank account, take your cash, and then it's gone. Document your travel plans with the bank with use of your debit cards and your credit cards so they know where you're going to be, what kind of expenses you're going to incur, where you're going to be staying, and to look for anything that's obvious. You wouldn't be buying expensive diamonds or things of that nature. And then, I think we're in the time where, we're so trusting, but don't post your travel plans on Facebook or other social media to let people know exactly where you're going. So bottom line is there are people out there like Jason who is looking to help you and do everything they can, but there's also people out there that are trying to take advantage of you. So with that being said, again, special thanks to Jason Hosey, bank manager who deals with financial wellness and the challenges of fraud. You've been a great person to talk to here and a great guest on the show. I want to send a special round of thanks to Pete Coles, our WCPC Westville Cable Channel 15 manager and producer, for his help and to make this show possible. So on behalf of Pete Coles and Tina Gorman, I'm Harry Rock. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Westville Council on Aging Presents. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.